Thanks for being here, Thomas.
Thanks for having me, Shirvesh, to tell my story.
So we've known each other for almost 4 months, and in that period, I've spoken with you extensively about your disputes with the Victorian Legal Services Board, and I understand that you make some very serious allegations against them, and that some of these allegations go as far back as around 15 years. So why is it that you've decided to speak out now?
It's not that I've been silent, Shirvesh. I have spoken up. I have gone to IBAC, which hasn't done anything. I've gone to the Victorian Ombudsman, who's come back and said, we can't look into your complaints. I've gone to members of Parliament who've decided not to take any interest in my complaints and arguments. I've also tried fellow lawyers that have also been affected by the Victorian Legal Services Commissioner and have had adverse action taken against them over the years. And I've also tried finding lawyers to assist me. And the profession out there all know what's going on, but they're all scared. Lawyers that I know for many, many years don't want to touch it. They just want to continue with their practice and don't want to be targeted because they know that if they get involved, and I've had 2 lawyers and my legal team have been targeted because they've been assisting me.
Okay, so when you say targeted, what happened to them?
My lawyers specifically
Yes.
Have had complaints lodged against them or reinvigorated by the Legal Services Commissioner because they assisted me. It's very, very obvious that because of their assistance, they've been targeted.
So can you give me an example of some of the adverse actions they've taken against your lawyers?
One of my lawyers, Ben Mohammed, barrister, represented me in a malicious prosecution case where the government lawyer withheld information to the court that would exonerate me, and he raised that in a submission to the judge, and the judge considered it and basically said that he had every right to raise that issue with the judge, but the judge decided, because it's a government lawyer, to give her a free pass, because the government lawyer said, well, I didn't intend to mislead the court. And so because it's a government lawyer, they're on a different level of accountability. And then the next step was that no costs were awarded against me because the government lawyer claimed costs against me for my barrister, Glenn Mohammed, raising that issue. So the judge said, no, Glenn Mohammed had every right to raise that issue in the court. I'm not going to award costs against Mr. Flitner. And the upshot of that has been, about a year later, I found out from Glenn Mohammed that this government lawyer, because she was questioned and because of Glenn Mohammed's submission and the judge having to look at this question, has raised an issue and made a complaint to the Victorian Legal Services Board to have Glenn Mohammed investigated for doing his utmost and his legal representative job to raise the issue about this information to exonerate me being withheld from the court.
So he raised a complaint about why the government had been prosecuting you, making allegations that could be disproved by the information that they were withholding from the court.
Yes.
And the judge found that it was the right thing for him to do. And did the judge find anything about the substance of what Glenn had said about the relevance of the information to your case?
Yeah, the judge said it was relevant and it should have been disclosed by the government lawyer.
So if it was relevant and it should have been disclosed, then the government lawyer was in breach of their prosecutorial duty by definition.
That's correct. That was Glenn Mohammad's submission.
Okay, and the judge still decided not to enforce the standard as it's set out in the letter of the law because this government lawyer asserted that she did not have the intention of doing what she had in fact done. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct. She told the government lawyer to leave the courtroom and seek legal advice and representation. And at the next court hearing, counsel appeared for the Victorian government lawyer to represent her and put an argument forward to the court that she didn't mean to mislead the court.
Did she give evidence about that?
No, she didn't. It was done on affidavit to the court and submissions by counsel for.
So she filed an affidavit with the court?
Actually, I'm incorrect there. There were submissions made by the counsel for the government solicitor to the court, to the judge, that she had no intention of misleading the court.
So the barrister essentially gave evidence on behalf of her?
Gave submissions, written submission.
But this is not a legal matter, this is a matter of fact. So
that's correct.
So you're saying that a factual matter was put from the bar table?
My barrister Glenn Mohammed made submissions in written form to the judge, and then in response, submissions were made by counsel representing the Victorian government solicitor.
But the submissions referred to a factual matter as if that factual matter was already established.
That's correct.
And no one got to cross-examine her?
No, nothing was done like that. No, the decision was that she'll get a free pass, and when they then felt that that had a win, and the Victorian government solicitors council asked the court for costs against me, the magistrate said, no, I'm of the view that Mr. Mohammed did the right thing and did ask the question, did point this out. I'm not going to award costs against Mr. Flitner.
So essentially what you're saying is that because of your barrister's initiative, you had exonerating evidence entered into the record of the proceeding. Your barrister was found to have done the right thing. And when the government complained about his conduct, the judge found that there was no basis to make that allegation and refused to give them a cost order. So what could they possibly complain about?
What they complained about there was just because they lost, because she had to get legal representation, and she also threatened him, I'm told, through Glenn Mohammed, in the courtroom in front of the police informant. And that has now taken a turn that he's been now under investigation. And I've waived privilege to assist him with his defence.
How long has he been under investigation?
At the moment, it's been 6 months or so.
6 months.
And he's responded to the allegation of this Victorian government solicitor who has lodged the complaint, this solicitor from the court. This particular solicitor has reported him to the Victorian Legal Services Board. I also reported her conduct to the Victorian Legal Services Board, and they said they wouldn't investigate any complaint of mine against her.
So essentially,
there's a double standard here.
And they're trying to send a message that if people do their job honestly,
that's correct,
then there will be...
There's ramifications.
Yeah, if not through the courts, then outside of it. So I would have thought that the investigation would have ended naturally once Glenn produced a transcript of the court proceeding, showing that the judge had made that determination, which was not appealed, right?
That's correct.
So there was
At the end, I was exonerated with costs against the Victorian Police Commissioner in that matter.
And part of it was because of the evidence that Glenn...
That's correct.
Okay. So it achieved.
And that took 4 years to get to that point, and the decision was not appealed.
Okay, so you've also told me about another matter where you were successful in the Court of Appeal. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
That was a number of years ago. I was successful in the Victorian Supreme Court of Appeal in a matter where the Victorian Legal Services Board vilified my diagnosis of Asperger's to try to limit my ability to practice law. In that case, the judges found that the legal board had tried to vilify me and make an example out of me because of my Asperger's autism in the way that by saying that I'm not competent to be a lawyer, I should not be running a practice. It's a form of discrimination, of course, under the law. And the judges found that they'd done the wrong thing there, and that was my appeal there, and I was successful in that appeal against the Legal Services Board, and I was awarded close to $100,000 in costs against the Victorian Legal Services Commissioner in that case. And I would have thought, after that judgment and me having spoken up, because these cases are very rare, that it would have made media attention, even though it was reported mostly. It's there for everyone to see. But the Victorian Legal Services Commissioner have so much power. They have some way of preventing the media and public and my profession getting knowledge of this case. But the upshot was, after that decision, the payback from the Legal Services Board was, and the Commissioner McGarvey at the time, unbeknownst to anyone, was that I had to provide an undertaking to the Commissioner and the Legal Services Board that I would undertake Asperger's treatment for 12 months for the whole year of 2015, which I did at my own cost. And I had to have 4 or 5 reports put in, as I recall, from my treating Asperger's psychologist to prove that I was being treated properly and I could function as a lawyer.
But Asperger's syndrome is high functioning
Autism.
Yes, and it doesn't compromise any of the analytical skills or your ability to carry out executive functioning, which is essentially what you need to do as a lawyer.
And I was successful for 21 years as a lawyer in my own practice, starting with 3 pieces of furniture and $5,000, and not one client.
And it's not something that can be cured.
No, it's not cured. It's a lifelong condition, not being neurotypical.
So what treatment did they want you to take?
They said you must undertake treatment, and I had many discussions with my psychologist about what treatment I needed. And all it was just talking about how I've been taken advantage of all in my life and through many different facets, including the Legal Services Board, taking away my right to practice, my enjoyment in life, being a lawyer and helping people out and doing a lot of pro bono work. And the discussion I had with that psychologist in 2015 was, what can you change? What can you tell me? I already know that I have been taken advantage all my life, and it's been very hard. I'm not good in social settings, and I've worked very hard to be able to be a lawyer and represent people and make eye contact and be able to speak and do public speaking, and having done a lot of courses and a lot of self-development at my own expense. So the undertaking was to say, well, you are not allowed to have your own practice, even though you've been in practice for, by that time, at least 13 years, because you have now been diagnosed with Asperger's autism.
It's not against the rules to have Asperger's.
That's correct. And it's discrimination under the Equal Opportunity Act, federally and state.
So, are you doing something about that? Have you made any complaints?
I have lodged a complaint with the Equal Opportunity Commission Victoria last year, and I'm still waiting for a mediator to be appointed.
And has that been reported anywhere?
No.
And did you raise these matters as part of your IBAC complaint and your complaint to the Ombudsman?
I did, yes, and I raised those issues. And the first step was to lodge the complaint with the Opportunity Commission and then have it vetted whether there was a basis. And that took some number of months to have it vetted first, and then to be told, yes, there is a case here and it will go to conciliation.
So you told me earlier that your complaint had been dismissed both by the IBAC and the Ombudsman. When you say dismissed, do you mean that they investigated your complaints and found that there was no basis to make those complaints?
No, they didn't even investigate. They just said it's not in their area to investigate. And also the Legal Services Board, investigating that government lawyer, blanketly just said, no, we're not going to investigate. And that's a fait accompli.
So the IBAC regulations and, well, rather the legislation, requires IBAC to investigate any serious allegation of corruption, because you'd have to be psychic to know beforehand whether or not the allegations are serious. And I know from all the marketing material of the IBAC that they're very poorly funded, so they can barely afford competent lawyers and investigators, let alone psychic ones. So what reason did they give you for not even agreeing to investigate your complaint?
They just said they didn't want to investigate. That was basically the response in a nutshell.
Did they give you any further explanation about what it was that led them?
No. The Ombudsman did say that they didn't have jurisdiction to investigate.
Okay. So what you're saying is that you've been trying to make complaints and get your allegations investigated.
A narrative out there, a story out there, yes.
For almost 1.5 decades.
Yep.
But no one's been willing to air your complaints or give you a forum because of the influence and the fear that the Victorian Legal Services Board Commissioner and Commissioner's Office invoke in people.
That's right, and also a whisper campaign that's come back to me through people I don't even know, saying that I'm a bad lawyer and I'm a bad person, and putting things out there. And I've not had an opportunity to tell my story until now, and it's officially to the public and to my profession and fellow lawyers, how I've been ostracised, singled out, harassed, etc.
Okay, so can you tell me how your disputes with the Victorian Legal Services Board commenced?
They commenced in around about 2011, with some allegations made against me, and I defended myself in a matter, which eventually ended up in the Supreme Court of Appeal.
So it's the same case that you were talking about earlier?
That's correct, and that case in damages, etc., even though I was vindicated in the end, cost me around about $700,000, which led to the legal board then requiring me to undertake Asperger's treatment and give an undertaking that I would undertake Asperger's treatment and do a course, which then led to my lawyers at the time saying, and the late John Salimi was my counsel in that matter, as well as Jerry Nash, QC, saying they won't let up. They will keep on my back, the Legal Services Board, because you've won against them, a rare win. So therefore they then sent auditors in on my trust account looking around how I could have afforded all these costs and expenses. They found nothing. And also my mum died at that time as well in 2014, on the 19th of November 2014. So that was when, just at the point of time when they required me to undertake Asperger's treatment.
So the Asperger's treatment was really about retribution for
winning that matter and having costs awarded against them.
for
For
basically
1 day's hearing, yes.
for essentially
Holding them to account.
okay, and that's obviously a horrible precedent for them because they don't want other people to follow in your footsteps.
I followed my pride. I had a lot of pride in myself, but I still went through it because the importance to me was my practice and the practice of law and my clients.